You've probably heard that a damp cloth is a cleaning lifesaver. It sounds practical, quick, and efficient, right? But what no one tells you is that in many cases, it could actually be slowly ruining your stuff. That's right. There are objects and surfaces that a damp cloth only makes worse, completely damaging your home. I'm the facilitator, and today you'll discover 10 things you should never clean with a damp cloth, even if it seems harmless. And get ready, because I'm sure you do at least half of them without even realizing it. Let's get straight to the point. You might be damaging your home right now. The first item on the list is your TV and electronic screens. You know that habit of wiping the TV, monitor, or laptop with a wet cloth to get rid of dust? Well, that's a one-way ticket to trouble. Moisture seeps into cracks and sensors and can damage the internal panel, especially on modern TVs. And the worst part, a damp cloth spreads dirt instead of actually cleaning it. The right way is to use a dry microfiber cloth. And if it's very dusty, slightly moisten it with isopropyl alcohol, not water. How many times have you cleaned your TV screen thinking you were doing it right? The second thing you should never clean with a damp cloth is wood. And here I'm talking about furniture, countertops, and wooden floors. When you wipe with a damp cloth, water seeps into the fibers, and over time, they swell, warp, and stain. That beautiful wood shine disappears, leaving a dull, lifeless look. It's even worse if you leave the cloth too wet and don't dry it right away. The right way is to use a well-wrung, almost dry cloth, or products made specifically for wood. In other words, the less water, the better. Third on the list, outlets, switches, and electrical devices. It may sound obvious, but many people wipe walls and end up touching these areas. Moisture and electricity are a perfect recipe for an accident. Besides the risk of electric shock, a damp cloth can oxidize the metal inside outlets over time, shortening their lifespan. So no damp cloths. Clean with a dry one or a small brush instead. Safety first, cleaning second. Fourth, mirrors and glass surfaces with wooden or metal frames. When you wipe with a damp cloth, water runs down the edges and seeps between the mirror and the backing, creating those black stains that look like mold but are actually oxidation. The same goes for metal frames, which rust over time. Use a dry cloth with glass cleaner and always avoid letting liquid run down the sides. The fifth one is controversial: lacquered or glossy furniture. Many people love that flawless shine, but a damp cloth is the number one enemy of this type of surface. It creates micro scratches, dulls the finish, and, depending on the product used, can react with the varnish and leave permanent marks. You think you're cleaning, but you're actually scratching it. The right method is a soft, dry cloth, and only as a last resort, a cloth lightly moistened with distilled water. Sixth, wallpaper. Here, a damp cloth is practically a death sentence. Moisture makes the paper peel, wrinkle, and, in worst cases, stain the glue. Even vinyl papers, which are supposedly resistant, get damaged if the cloth is too wet. The ideal cleaning is always dry, a duster, soft cloth, and, if necessary, a lightly moistened wipe only on the dirtiest areas. Ever realize that sometimes the stain you're trying to remove was actually caused by the cloth itself? Seventh, keyboards and remote controls. They look simple, but they're full of crevices. And guess where the moisture goes when you wipe them with a damp cloth? Exactly, inside. Over time, this causes oxidation and faulty keys. The right way is to use a dry cloth or a cotton swab slightly moistened with isopropyl alcohol. Never water. And one more thing, turn it off or remove the batteries before cleaning. The eighth item is one of the most overlooked: picture frames and photographs. When you use a damp cloth, moisture seeps in through the edges and damages the photo paper, glass, and even the frame. The result? Yellowed photos, peeling frames, and mold on the paper. The ideal way is to clean with a dry cloth. And if you want to shine the glass, spray the cleaner on another cloth, never directly on the frame. Ninth, upholstery and fabrics that aren't waterproofed. That habit of using a damp cloth to remove a spot just spreads the dirt and creates water stains. Plus, the moisture can lead to mold, especially on sofas and headboards. The right method is a vacuum and specific fabric cleaners. And if you absolutely must use water, it should be well controlled, applied with a spray bottle, and dried immediately. And lastly, the 10th item, electronic appliances in general. Microwaves, refrigerators, ovens, blenders, fans. Anything with electrical components should never see a damp cloth anywhere near it. Moisture seeps into openings, corrodes internal parts, and can cause short circuits. The best way to clean is with a slightly damp cloth, only on the exterior, immediately followed by a dry one. Inside, especially for appliances, no wet cloths. Use dry cloths or paper towels instead. Now tell me, how many of these did you recognize yourself in? Be honest, because this kind of mistake is more common than you think. How many times have you cleaned your TV, your mirror, or your wooden furniture thinking you were taking care of it, but were actually damaging it? But don't worry, no one ever taught you this. Many people repeat the methods they learned from their parents, and back then, a damp cloth was the solution for everything. But today, with different materials, delicate finishes, and electronics all over the house, that habit needs to change. Smart cleaning is the kind that cleans without destroying. Another important detail, the damp cloth isn't the villain. It's just misused. The problem is thinking that the wetter it is, the better. The truth is, the more water, the greater the risk of staining, oxidizing, and ruining. The secret is knowing when to use it, and more importantly, when not to. And speaking of damp cloths, have you noticed that many people use the same one for everything? They wipe the sink, then the table, then the living room. It's basically spreading dirt efficiently. A damp cloth collects bacteria, especially if you store it folded while still wet. And the next time you use it, it's already contaminating what you're trying to clean. Do you see what that shows? The problem isn't just the damp cloth itself. It's the lack of judgment. It's the idea of cleaning out of habit without thinking about what's actually being done. And that's what makes so many people waste time, products, and sometimes even money, because a lot of the damage we cause while cleaning is irreversible. Another classic example, metal surfaces. Wiping stainless steel with a damp cloth, especially without drying it afterward, creates stains, rust, and fingerprints. You think the fridge is clean, but after a few days, the shine is gone. The secret is always the same: a dry cloth, gentle motions, and if you want an extra touch, a bit of vinegar or alcohol, but always applied to the cloth, never directly on the metal. And what about stone countertops? That's another sensitive area. Granite and marble are porous. Wiping them with a damp cloth and letting them air dry causes water stains and wears down the sealant. And if you use acidic products, it's even worse. The damp cloth spreads and speeds up the damage. For this type of surface, less is more. A dry cloth and a neutral cleaner do the trick. See how the logic changes? Instead of wiping everything with a damp cloth, the idea is to understand what each material can handle. That's smart cleaning. It's not about doing more, it's about doing it right. At the end of the day, good cleaning isn't about effort or time. It's about knowledge. Knowing what you can and can't do, and why. And the damp cloth, which seems like an ally, is often the hidden villain. So next time you clean, think about it. Is that wet cloth really helping, or just making things worse? If you have to dry it right after, if the surface is delicate, or if it's electronic, the answer is simple: avoid it. And tell me in the comments, just out of curiosity, which of these things did you always clean with a damp cloth and just found out you shouldn't? I bet at least one of them will surprise you. True cleaning is the kind that preserves, not destroys, and the damp cloth, when used the wrong way, does exactly the opposite. If you want practicality and efficiency, learn to use it strategically. Sometimes what seems clean is only hiding the problem until it shows up full force. Smart cleaning saves time, effort, and money. And now that you know what you should never clean with a damp cloth, one thing's for sure: your home will last longer, look newer, and you'll stop dealing with the damage caused by a simple wet rag. Hope you enjoyed this. Big hug, and see you next time.